So every time we stream and I talk about like what's your most anticipated, what's your most wanted game or whatever, people always come in and they're like, when are we getting a new Nier game? When are we getting a new game from this or that from Square Enix? But Nier is always in there, and Drakengard is always in there. So it's funny that I came across this article on IGN. They were talking about Nier creator Yoko Taro is still working on games. They just keep getting canceled. I think this is wild. I read a little bit of this article, but I won't read the whole thing now. But and I'll give kind of my thoughts on what I think is really kind of going on after I read this article. So check out the thoughts afterward here. But I'm just going to read it verbatim and then give my thoughts on it. It says, Yoko Taro, the creator of the Nier and Drakengard games, has been awfully quiet lately. Though he's worked on some smaller projects, writing scenarios for Voice of Cards and a few mobile games. Yeah, it's really weird that they haven't had him on bigger projects because he's a very popular creator and he makes great games. So, the lack of a proper Nier follow-up or other new major game from him has been getting under fans' skin. But according to Taro, he has been working on projects, they just keep getting cancelled. That's wild. This comes from his remarks at Korean gaming convention G-Con 2025, which were reported on by 4Gamer and translated by Automaton. The panel, which featured Taro and Bayonetta and Okami director Hideki Kamiya, sorry, I totally butchered that, saw the pair asked for updates on recent projects. Kamiya mentioned the upcoming sequel to Okami, while Taro said he's been very busy with new projects, but they keep getting canceled partway through. And this is something we've speculated on. And again, we'll get to more of that here in a minute. I often get told stuff like, why aren't you making a new sequel to Nier? Or Yoko Taro isn't doing anything. But that's because recently, a lot of projects I was involved in got discontinued midway through development. He said, I've actually been working on some stuff, it's just that it never ended up seeing the light of day. I got paid for it, so I personally have no issue with that, but people seem to think that haven't been doing anything just because none of the work I've done is being released. However, Taro isn't discouraged by this. Apparently, he continued saying he'd rather fail repeatedly and eventually create something good rather than put out multiple mediocre works. That makes sense. I mean, I can understand that. I believe that if I'm going to release something weird, I'd be better off not releasing anything at all. But he's kind of known for being weird. Maybe he means, something bad. Maybe he didn't mean weird there. Maybe that's a mistranslation. But so anyway. So potentially not great news for Nier fans who are hoping another Nier game was right around the corner, especially since Nier Reincarnation, which was effectively a sequel to Nier Automata, is still completely unplayable by virtue of being a mobile gacha game that's since been taken offline with seemingly no plans to release. Oof, I didn't know that. That's gross, if that's what that is. So good luck to Taro. Hopefully we see a new project from him that makes it to release sooner rather than later. Alright, so again, we've talked about this in some of the live streams, like some of what we kind of think is going on with like the business at Square Enix and what that means for different creators and different projects, and Yoko Taro being one of them, is that I feel like there's a lot of truth in what he's saying here. Like, he's worked on a ton of projects that have been canceled or restructured or moved around, and what they're doing at Square Enix right now, they have cut back on a lot of, you can tell. Look at the production, the stuff they were just pumping out for about 10 years, and most of it wasn't great. Yoko Taro was one of those creators who was making great games. The Nier games were really good, has a huge rabid fan base. I'd say Nier, Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy to some degree. There's a couple of other titles you can sprinkle in there, but for the most part, he was one of their really, really good creators that was making good stuff. So, I don't think this is I've seen some people kind of talking about this a little bit, and I've seen some people saying this is kind of a knock on his quality. I don't think this is a knock on his quality. I think some people were rage baiting with some of that stuff. I don't think this is a knock on his quality. I don't think it's anything like that. I think they're trying to figure out what they want to make moving forward, and they've kind of called an all stop to a lot of projects. Now, one of the things I had heard was that Yoko Taro, and this is what I wanted to get to, Yoko Taro had some input on this Final Fantasy IX remake that was happening. That was definitely happening. And him coming out saying, yeah, I've been working on stuff, but it's been canceled or whatever, you know. Does that mean it's been canceled, like officially? Like officially? I still don't think it is. But that's just one part of this. Like another part of this is what other projects were being developed that we never knew about. We could do the whole fantasy board here. Like you could do the whole fantasy board. Like Yoko Taro, I think he's one of those creators they like to have working on many projects, like giving input and feedback and like tackling certain things like story elements and character work and character development. I think he's a really good character guy. He does really good character work within the framing of the stories he works on. Now, another thing is the whole restructuring of Square Enix. Like the people at the top, like the new head there, and the people he's got underneath him are getting shuffled around to different positions. They've only got a couple of things I think right now that they're like, okay, this is our through line. This is what's going to get us through to the other side of like where we want to be in the games we want to make. Final Fantasy stuff, of course, 7 Remake Saga, Kingdom Hearts, and a few other games. So they have some games as a service they're keeping running right now, but as far as like new IPs and sequel IPs and stuff like that, like a new Nier game, I don't know what's going on with Kingdom Hearts. What other, like Final Fantasy 17, where they at in pre-development for that? I think it's a couple more years before we hear anything about that. But judging by this, it could be even longer. So a new Nier game. I know I'm not like a big Nier fan, not because I don't think it's good. I just never really had much time to play it. Like I've played a little bit of Nier Automata. I enjoyed what I played of it, but I haven't had time to dive into it. I know for a fact that he is a great creator though, and like I said, I think he does really good with character work in games, and he's a little bit out there, a little bit kooky himself, so he'll be fine. Like he'll be fine. I've seen a lot of people worried. I don't think there's anything to worry about. He'll be fine. I think they're just trying to, it's less about him and more about them trying to figure out what direction they want to go with the company and where they want to go moving forward and what they want their content to be like. So we'll see some Yoko Taro games coming within the next 12, 18 months, hopefully, or hearing news or seeing trailers or something like that. So anyway, it'll be okay. They'll figure it out. And then we'll be patient in the meantime and check out his work when it happens. So anyway, post your comments below. Let me know what you thought about that. Subscribe to the channel. Help us get to our current goal, which is 6,000 subscribers. We are a few hundred away. So appreciate everybody helping the channel grow, keeping us pumping, keeping us moving. And until next time, y'all have a great day. Be safe, be good to each other. Keep rocking. And I will catch you all in the next video. Take care of yourselves.